Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the world is on fire. Gas pumps need emotional support animals, and every Washington solution sounds like it was written on a napkin at a bait shop. Segment 1. Hormuz heartburn and gas pump punishment. The big mess today is still the U.S.-Iran conflict, because America looked at a global economy held together by duct tape and shipping lanes and said, "Let's add a naval blockade." President Donald Trump rejected Iran's counter-proposal to the 14-point ceasefire plan, calling it totally unacceptable, which is diplomacy for everybody put your helmets back on. Iran wanted reparations, control over the Strait of Hormuz, toll money from passing ships, and a delay on the nuclear issue until after the war ends. That is not a peace plan. That is a hostage note with a boat dock attached to it. Now crude oil is above $100 a barrel. Gas is around $4.50, and every minivan in America feels like a private jet with cup holders. The administration tried Project Freedom, escorting tankers through the strait. But Saudi Arabia would not give the U.S. the airspace and base access, which is like planning a barbecue and finding out the neighbor locked up the grill and the backyard. Shipping companies are rerouting. The UAE is furious. Saudi Arabia is cautious, and economists are talking supply deficits, while regular folks are calculating whether payday can survive Tuesday. When rich people say market disruption, they mean somebody somewhere is about to charge you $8 for a gas station to Quito. Segment 2. Epic Fury, Bad Targets, and the War Department Gift Shop. This crisis did not fall out of the sky like a raccoon through a church ceiling. It came after Operation Epic Fury, the joint U.S.-Israeli strike campaign that killed Iran's top leadership and wrecked major military infrastructure. On paper, that sounds decisive, the kind of thing generals describe with laser pointers and a voice calm enough to make catastrophe sound like a software update. But then came the Manab school tragedy, where a strike reportedly hit a primary school because planners were working from old intelligence. You can win the tactical headline and still lose the human argument, because dead children do not become footnotes just because somebody put the wrong building in the targeting folder. Meanwhile, back home, the government has leaned into the vibe by turning the Department of Defense back into the Department of War, because apparently the problem was not enough honesty on the letterhead. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth gets a new title, buildings get new signs, and taxpayers may get a bill that runs into billions, which is very Washington. We cannot lower gas prices, but we can rename the office that helped make them worse. Congress is fighting over the War Powers Act too, because the administration says hostilities basically ended with a temporary ceasefire, while troops, blockades, and missiles are still hanging around like unpaid interns at the apocalypse. If I rename my broken lawnmower the Department of Grass Victory, it still will not start. Segment 3. China has the coupons and the leverage. Next, Trump is headed to Beijing to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping, and the big hope is that China will pressure Iran into taking the U.S. ceasefire terms. That sounds good until you remember China is buying discounted Iranian oil, watching America burn money in the Middle East, and sitting there like a man at a poker table holding everybody else's mortgage paperwork. Washington wants Beijing to squeeze Tehran, but Beijing has reasons to wait, because the longer the U.S. is stuck guarding shipping lanes and arguing over gas prices, the more room China has to bargain. Leverage is not about who talks the loudest. It is about who can sit still the longest, while somebody else's voters scream at a gas pump. And the summit is not just about Iran, because foreign policy is never one problem. It is a junk drawer full of knives. There is Taiwan, with an $11 billion arms package hanging in the background, while Trump pressures Taiwan for more investment and protection money vibes. There is the trade war, where both sides want stability, but also want to leave the room pretending they won the county fair arm wrestling contest. If you need China to rescue your Middle East strategy while also fighting China over chips and tariffs, that is not diplomacy. That is asking your ex to help you move while you are still suing them over the couch. Segment 4. World Cup Security and the Canadian Vacation Rebellion. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is coming to North America, and security officials are staring at the schedule like somebody handed them a flaming spreadsheet. 48 teams, more than 100 matches, giant fan zones, border crossings, transit systems, ticketing networks, and soft targets are all stacking up while the Iran conflict raises the threat level like a possum on espresso. The FBI and Homeland Security are worried about lone actors, cyber attacks, drones, and tethered drones that cannot be jammed the normal way. That makes you miss when the scariest thing at a soccer game was a guy spilling nachos on your shoes. At the same time, Canadian tourism to the U.S. has reportedly fallen hard, with mobile data showing visits to major American cities down by more than 40%. Canadians are looking at tariffs, border tension, political chaos, and high prices and saying, maybe this year we go to Europe, which hurts because America depends on Canadians to buy outlet mall sneakers, Florida sunscreen, and alligator-shaped shot glasses. Airlines are cutting U.S. capacity and shifting routes, and once families build new vacation habits, you cannot just whistle and expect them back like a farm dog. If Canada is too stressed to visit us, that is like being told the polite neighbor started locking the door when you walk by. Segment 5. Cows, AI bosses, and the domestic chaos buffet. Back inside the country, the administration is pushing a major grazing policy on federal lands, protecting livestock access across huge stretches of rangeland under a no-net loss approach. Supporters say it protects ranch jobs, food production, and rural economies. And there is a real point there because cattle country does not pay bills with environmental slogans printed on tote bags. Critics warn that reopening millions of acres without strong review can damage water, soil, and habitat, especially where one bad policy can turn a creek into a cow-flavored pothole. Rural economies matter, but so does not turning public land into an all-you-can-trample buffet. Then there is AI, where the fear is less robots stole my job and more robots are measuring how long I blink between tasks. Workplace surveillance is becoming the new frontier, meaning the future might not be a shiny robot uprising. It might be your boss getting a dashboard that says your bathroom break had suspicious emotional tone. Add energy summits, nuclear power debates, steel tariff fights, strange primaries, and the country starts to sound like a junkyard orchestra, where every instrument is a policy crisis with a cracked trumpet. So while war shakes oil markets, AI watches workers, cows head onto federal land, and politicians rebrand chaos as strategy, the average American is standing there with a receipt in one hand and a gas nozzle in the other, wondering why every national decision costs $42 more than yesterday. In conclusion, today's news is one long reminder that global power games do not stay on fancy maps for very long. They slide into gas prices, grocery bills, vacation plans, stadium security, public land, workplace rules, and that little knot in your stomach when the government says everything is under control. We have a war that is not over, diplomacy that looks like a tractor pull in a thunderstorm, a China summit where everybody wants leverage, and an economy getting squeezed like a ketchup packet under a truck tire. So buckle up, because if this is what calm looks like, Chaos is probably already outside warming up the engine.